Hey guys, welcome back to our place for another week of Frugal February. Whew, this is the end of week 3, and this week may just have got the better of us. We'll have to hang around and see how we went for week 3. So today is our Sunday catch-up day. We're about to start week 4 tomorrow, but how did we go for week 3? And I can tell you, we started off week 3 feeling fairly confident that we had hit our stride and it was all going swimmingly. Week 2 felt like we nailed it. Week 3, wow, let me just tell you, that week has been a little bit more difficult for us. Must apologize if you guys can hear whip cracking in the background. It is whip cracking. We're at a camp. There's some kids with some whips. It's not shotguns, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just kids with whips. This is what happens when you live on the road and you go past Mataranka and you see the Whippy Griggs show and all the kids end up with whips. Anyways, if you guys have been up that way, you know what I'm talking about. Week 3. All right. The interesting thing about this week, my takeaway from week 3 has really been that these challenges are a lot easier when things go to plan. Obviously, when you have a week where you can be super organized, you know that you're going to need to cook a lot in advance, you've made time for that, everything seems to go quite smoothly. Those weeks where everything starts to fall apart, you know, the wheels kind of fall off your week, definitely make these kind of challenges a lot more difficult, and you really have to want to stick to it to make it work, because it would be so much easier to fall back into some of our old patterns, maybe cheat a little bit. Sometimes it's easier just to, you've had a big long hard day and it's just easier to make dinner somebody else's problem, i.e. get takeaway, or pop to the shops because you're supposed to be out and about and what you had planned for lunch isn't going to work because you're out longer, or you forgot to take lunch, or maybe your bread failed overnight and you don't have that wonderful loaf of bread that you were going to have for lunch, and plans need to change. That can be a lot more difficult when you're trying to do these challenges and stick to these challenges. And that is what we learned this week. These are the weeks that really test you and test your resolve as far as it goes to wanting to stick to the challenge. Now, I am really proud of the fact that we did stick to our guns and we stuck to our challenge. I'll be the first one to say this week we did go back to the supermarket and we had to buy some markdown rolls from the local IGA to get us through. In the end, I think we ended up spending an additional $8, but I'm not too worried about that because we had already come in under our $75 budget. My grocery shop that I did at the start of the week was only $48, so I definitely had a bit of money up my sleeve to play with. The other thing that happened this week, with it being so busy, was that it was actually really hard to film everything. So as much as I would love to show you guys everything that we had for breakfast, lunch and dinner, it's just not possible this week. I did make an effort to film what we had for dinner every night. And if you guys know us and if you guys have watched week 1 and week 2, PS, if you haven't, I will leave a link for those videos down below. But if you've watched those videos, you guys know that we tend to eat leftovers for lunch the next day, and breakfast is usually something to do with oats. So this week was no different. Even though I didn't film it, I have actually shown you guys what we eat. So again, it was overnight oats for breakfast. We did do some baked oatmeal, and there was a couple of smoothies in there. I didn't get around to filming that because it was just hectic this week. But if you'd like to see how we make those meals, they are in week 1 and 2. You can go back and watch those. And again, lunch was usually leftovers, except for the nights that we didn't actually cook something where we could make leftovers. And in which case, I tried to make something the next day. So that's pretty much how breakfast and lunch goes. And unfortunately, I am really sorry, but I just didn't get to film that as much as what I would have liked to this week. But you guys will see what I cooked for dinner. So why don't we turn this around and I will show you what I did manage to capture this week on film, but also let's have a look primarily at the dinners that we made, because really that's what produced lunch, because it was leftovers. So let's turn this around and we'll have a look at what we cooked for dinner this week. Dinner tonight is potato and 3 veg. So I just quickly microwaved the potatoes and then popped them in the air fryer so that they were nice and crispy on the outside. We made some gravy and we quickly cooked up some veggies. So we've got carrot, zucchini and corn. But not only do we have potato and 3 veg, but we have it 3 ways. So this is the way it's supposed to look. This is Charlotte's because she doesn't want the gravy. Well, I don't know. She's got a puddle in the middle. Not sure what's going on over there. And then this is Captain Fussy, who doesn't like his veggies to touch his other veggies. I don't know. So we have potato and a lot of gravy and vegetables sitting over here because, you know, they can't go in the same bowl together. Cake again for breakfast this week. If you'd like to see how I made that, I did explain that in last week's week 2's video. It's basically just a baked oatmeal that we sometimes do in the microwave and sometimes do on the stove top. So if you want to go check the full recipe out, go and check out week 2's video. But yeah, some more cake again on the menu this week. Today for lunch, I'm actually trying to cook up 2 ingredient oat wraps. So this is what I've been experimenting with this morning. I'm not going to share the recipe with you guys just yet because I'm not 100% happy with it. There is a very fine line between having too thin and then it just sort of falls apart. This guy over here, now that he's cooled down, is probably pretty good, but obviously that's very small. And this one behind is too thick. So we will eat these for lunch today, but I'm going to keep experimenting, and then hopefully when I find the right consistency and recipe that is working for me, I will share it with you guys. But you know, sometimes you just got to experiment a little bit and see what happens. So I ended up just cooking up some of the vegetable koftas that I had in the freezer, and we've got our little wraps with some tomato, some cucumber and some lettuce. We'll see how they go. They weren't the most successful wraps, but this should hold up, hopefully, just enough so that we can eat lunch. All right, dinner tonight is a big batch of penne and bolognese sauce. Did I cook the penne a little bit so it's falling apart, but you know what? That is real life, and sometimes it's just not picture perfect, but it's still food. So I'm going to dish this up. There'll be enough for us for dinner tonight and leftovers tomorrow, because that is a big pot of pasta. So there we go, dished up. And leftovers for tomorrow, and a little bit extra if anyone wants to come back for some more. But yeah, another big meal from our little tiny Frugal February challenge. Tragedy has struck here this morning, I think. I've been using up little packets of yeast that I've had in my freezer, and I think this one was dead. I think the yeast in this one was dead. It has not risen overnight, and it is just like glue this morning. So that's going to be a little bit problematic for our lunch. I think today we might have to, unfortunately, go and check out the markdown rack and see if we can't just pick up some rolls or something that are really super cheap, because this is just going to cook like a brick. Today has been absolutely crazy, so I did take a shortcut today and we went to the IGA and picked up some reduced bread. So this was 99 cents, and we're just going to do a really quick and easy soup for dinner using the bread. And yeah, I'll show you why today's been so absolutely crazy in another video. But shortcut today, this is life. And I'm just microwaving some soup that I made ages ago. It's just a vegetable soup with barley in it. I think it's been in the freezer for ages, and it just needs using up. So I'm just heating up a couple of these in the microwave, and that is going to be dinner tonight. Another bowl of overnight oats and peaches for breakfast. All right, today has been a super long day and has not necessarily gone as planned, and dinner is not going as planned. So I was going to do a rice and veggies and whatnot, but it is almost 7:45 and we still haven't had dinner. So you know what we're going to do? We're just going to do pasta. I had this bag of pasta in the back of the pantry. Bought it ages ago for Charlotte because it's dinosaur shaped, and I'd been saving it for her to do something special with, but unfortunately I'm sequestering this now tonight, and we're just going to do green pasta, which she's actually quite happy about because green pasta or basil pesto pasta with green vegetables is Charlotte's favourite. So I'm hoping to have this together in about 20 minutes, and we're calling that dinner. Oh, all right, and there we go. It doesn't look very green, but there we go. It's what we call green pasta. So there's little tiny dinosaurs in there somewhere, if you can see them. I'm not really sure. But anyways, quick, easy dinner. Better than going to Macca's or Hungry Jack's or going and getting takeaway. We've put food on the table with the stuff that we had on hand, and we're still winning. All right, there we go, hot off the press. Literally, it's still quite hot, but dinner on the table, and it's not 8:30 yet, so that's awesome. Tonight, look at this, we're actually cooking dinner. I'm doing what we call poor man's fried rice, but it's probably not a good name for it because look at all these veggies that we're going to chuck in here. It's going to be amazing. So obviously we've got rice. I will need to cook this up. This is better with cold rice, but I don't have any. So what I'm going to do is cook the rice first. I'm just going to stick it in the fridge, and we're going to do the best that we can. It'll be okay. And I'm going to load it full of veggies, whatever I've got. I've got a carrot, zucchini, peas, corn, potato. Yes, potato. It's amazing. And a little bit of celery that really needs to be used. So I'm going to chuck this in tonight's dinner, and what I don't get to, I'm going to chop up and put in the freezer. For protein, you could chuck some beans in it if you wanted to. If you eat meat, go for that, chuck that in. We're going to throw in some tofu, and I'm going to flavor the tofu just with some stock powder. That's going to work awesome. Once this is all cooked together, the only other thing that I'm actually going to add is soy sauce. So just your traditional types of stir fry, fried rice flavors, lots of veggies. We're going to bulk it out, and hopefully we're going to have leftovers for tomorrow. So we've got the veggies going in here. All I've done is just dice them all up, starting with the firmer vegetables. I'll move on to the zucchini and then chuck in the frozen veggies. Our rice is just sitting here over in the back, and I'm just going to dice up the tofu. So for those of you guys who don't know, tofu is a cooked thing. I'm really just heating it up, so I don't have to worry too much about that. I'm just going to dice that up as well so that it looks like this stuff, and just keep mixing it through the pot. What I don't want to do is overcrowd the pot too much, so I am doing this in batches. So if there's too much in here, it just won't cook at all. So as I go through and do each lot, I'm just going to pop them into a bowl and let them sit, and then I'll build everything back up together at the end. But yeah, that is pretty much how we do fried rice around here. It's pretty simple. So there's some of our veggies and the tofu, and over here I've got the corn and the peas, and I'm just starting to mix in the rice and just cook it off. So just going to build it up a little bit. I'm going to start throwing in some of these veggies as well and just start mixing it through. And there we go. Now it's time to dish up, but I've got a nice big batch of fried rice there, and hopefully we'll have some leftovers for tomorrow as well. So basically the moral of the story is, yeah, when things don't go to plan, that's when it's really easy for everything else to start falling off as well. It could have been really easy this week for us just to throw our hands up and go, you know what? This just isn't the week to do a challenge. It's too hard. There's too much other stuff going on. We had really long days. We had unexpected days. We ended up being out when we didn't think we were going to be. And, you know, you just have those weeks sometimes where one thing just snowballs into another thing. And then the next thing you know, the whole week has just turned a little bit crazy. And that was certainly one of these weeks. The great thing was, though, I felt like I actually learned a lot about that, so that when that happens again next time, I can be more prepared and put some things in place so that we can stick to our goal of, you know, sticking to our grocery budget. There are always things in the house to be able to cook. Sometimes we're not going to necessarily stick to our meal plan, but that's okay. I didn't cook a lot of the things that I had on my list this week that I wanted to cook, that I was excited about cooking. I was excited that they were on my meal plan. But at the end of the day, we put food on the table every night, and we had dinner every night. And yes, we had pasta twice this week, and I usually try to avoid doing that. But you know what? We had dinner and we didn't go and get takeout. Yes, my bread failed there at one point in the middle of the week. Of course, that's when it was going to happen. But again, look, so we did go back to the supermarket, which was one of the things I was really trying to avoid, because that's when I find that we spend more, is when we go back in for one thing and we end up spending $50 and wondering what we bought. So we were very focused. We actually went to an IGA where we knew that there was usually some things that were marked down, and we were lucky that when we went there, yes, we were able to pick up some rolls and a loaf of bread that was marked down, and that is what got us through that period. So although we did go back and essentially do a top-up shop, we only went in and purchased what we were after, which was bread to replace the bread that didn't work, and we stuck to our guns when we went in there, and that is all we purchased, because we did have food back at home, and that's a really important thing that we stuck to. Other than that, I'm gonna say I felt like at one point, you know, this week was the week that beat us, but you know what, it didn't. We got through to the end of it and we stuck to our challenge. So this isn't the week that beat us, but we did learn a lot from it. And as much as this week was tricky to get through, I'm actually looking forward to next week, because it really, I think, reiterates to me the fact that if I can take some time out on the weekend and maybe one day during the week to prep for all those other days, I know that I can make this successful, and I know that I can actually feed my family quite well on a very limited budget. Now, I know, yes, we are using up the things that we have in the fridge and the freezer and the pantry. We're not living off just $50 a week. But I think even if we were to calculate in how much we were spending out of the freezer and the pantry, it's probably going to come in pretty close to another $25. So we're still sticking to our $75 grocery budget, even though we're not actually spending that much, and we are using some of the supplies that we've got. The flip side of that is too, it is actually good to use up the things that you have on hand, so that we're cycling through the things that we're buying. We're not just buying food because it's marked down or it's on special, or we had a good idea for it at one point but we never got around to making it, like half the meals that I had on my meal plan this week. But that food then sits in the freezer. We need to go back and make sure that we're using that stuff up, so it doesn't just sit there and sit there. That's not what we want. We don't want it to sit there. We want to use it. We bought it to eat it. We bought it to use it. Now's the time to make that happen. So that is my takeaway from week 3. The week that almost beat us, but it didn't. We came out the other side, and we are excited for week 4. So if you would like to join us for week 4, as always, now would be a great time to go and hit that little subscribe button if you haven't already. Don't forget to tick the bell. That way you'll get notified when my next video comes out. We will have a meal plan and grocery haul coming out for you guys on Wednesday, and then I will have our final meal recap on Sunday, and I will show you the meals that I cooked up for week 4. That'll come out on Sunday, and that will be the end of our Frugal February. And I'm actually at this point almost feeling a little bit sad about it. Maybe we should continue on in March, who knows? But it's actually been quite a positive experience thus far, and I'm really looking forward to tackling week 4 next week. I hope you guys are excited to come along for a ride and see what happens. If you are joining us and doing Frugal February your own way at your house, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. How is it going? What are you finding? Have you hit any struggle streets like we have this week? And what did you take away from it? And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, if you could please give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate that. Lets me know the kind of content you guys are enjoying and what you'd like to see more of. And I do hope to see you next week when we catch up for week 4. And I do hope that you have an absolutely fantastic week. So until then, take care, my friends, and we'll talk soon. Bye.